Hello and welcome to the Premier Injuries channel. As always, we like to do this on a bit of a build-up towards the game week starting. Of course, this is game week 13. There's been a lot of injury news, a lot of kind of analysis. So do get in your questions because, as always, we're going to be taking apart, removing misinformation, and helping you with your deadline transfers. But as always, Ben, how are you doing today?
All right, man, I'm still here. It's been a bit of a windy night. It's cold. The winter seems like it's kicking in at last. So, looking forward to getting game week 13 kicked off and getting some points on the board.
Is this somebody from the north saying winter's coming?
Well, it's a bit fresh, but I've still got the shorts on.
I don't know
So
if you've
let's not get too carried away.
have you watched Game of Thrones?
Nah,
Oh,
rubbish.
that was a Game of Thrones reference, you see. So I was just hoping that you'd be like Jon Snow and go, "Oh yes, the White Walkers are coming." Um, anyway, let's get
Over
in.
my head.
It might have gone to some of the listeners. I don't know. We've already got a question from Forever QPR though. He says, "Morning, gents. What would you? Who would you start from White, Antonio, Dennis, and Rafina?" Really good one there because obviously White is playing Newcastle, but Newcastle a bit rejuvenated. Antonio is playing City. And then I'd have to check who Dennis and Rafina are playing, but the first two don't have the best of games. I mean, Ben, can you fill that in whilst I get up some of my info and fixtures and stuff?
Yeah, so Watford travelling to the King Power to face Leicester. Big game, of course. The Hornets without Ishmael Sarr. So that could see Claudio Ranieri maybe tweak his formation ever so slightly. We've seen Dennis on the left-hand side. Does he change to a more 4-4-2 and put him central? Potentially with Josh King. We did see Emmanuel Dennis, I think it was on the opening game of the season, play as a central striking role. So there's a couple of things. So I do like the Dennis pick. I don't think defensively Leicester have been great, and we know that Johnny Evans had a slight issue on Thursday night prior to the Legia Warsaw game. We expect him to recover and be fine, but that's just one to watch. And with regards to Rafina, look, I do like Rafina. Rafina's been performing in a team that hasn't been playing very well at all. So, we've seen encouraging signs from Leeds in recent matches, in patches. If Leeds can step up their game, then only that will only serve to benefit the likes of Rafina. I've actually brought him in this game week as well. So there's a ringing endorsement. So of the two, I would say Dennis and Rafina. I don't know if you needed one from the four. If it was, I would go for, look, I'd happily stick with Rafina, but Dennis closely followed.
Geo Boys has kind of come in and agreed. I think he's got the Game of Thrones reference because he said winter's here up north morning. In terms of Forever QPR's question, I agree with you. I think the Newcastle Arsenal game, I think it's going to be a lot tighter than people expect. Newcastle looked good in attack, and I think one of the things that maybe is positive about Eddie Howe is he will be positive going into a lot of these games. He backs himself as a tactician, even when the going looks tough and the team that he's playing against is on paper a lot better. He masterminded a few big wins for Bournemouth back in the day. So yeah, and then Antonio is playing Man City. The interesting thing there is I back West Ham to do all right, but it's the better of the two is Dennis and Rafina. Abdullahi Hurst has says start one Gray, Markel, or Antonio. I mean, it's not a great pick there, is it, Ben?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't expect Markal to play, although he's had a good week on the training pitches. Obviously, Dinnery, he's playing on the left-hand side. Bruno Lage said that he would stick with him last weekend. Wolves got a decent result, so I don't expect much change in that Wolverhampton Wanderers starting 11. Therefore, that would rule sort of Markal out of that equation. Antonio, he was rested against Rapid Vienna. a decision David Moyes made based on those upcoming fixtures. So he will be fully refreshed, raring to go. I've got Edison as a keeper, but I do actually fancy West Ham to get a goal. I certainly don't think City are infallible at the back. Pep could change things around with one eye on the fixtures this week. Of course, that centre-back pairing, everybody can come in and do a job. You've got Ruben Diaz, Laporte, John Stones, and Ake. Do we see Cancelo start again? He's the only Manchester City player to have started every single league game this season. He's got a lot of minutes under his belt. His benching will come at some point. I'm not saying it's going to be this weekend, but it will happen. And if there's a little bit of disruption in that back line, maybe somebody like Antonio could find that chink in the armour. And with regards to Gray, do you know what? I'm trying to think Gray, which Gray? It's absolutely just slipped my mind. Who we're talking about here?
Probably Demarai Gray.
Demarai Gray. Right, Demarai Gray. There we're gone. You know what? There's so many Grays. Demarai Gray, well, he's almost certain to miss out as well. He pulled up with an adductor problem last weekend, groin-related issue. First scan back wasn't very good. Initial thoughts was going to be around about a month. Second scan come back was fairly positive. So he did take part in some light training on Thursday and Friday. But again, I can't see him being in that starting 11 or even in the match day squad. Rafa Benitez may just hold him back. So, by process of elimination, it has to be Antonio.
Yeah. And again, kind of reiterating your point, I've already said it, but I quite like West Ham in this game. They're a team that like to upset the big teams, although I would consider them one of the big teams now. They're just playing really good football. I don't know what happened last week against Wolves. We'll chalk that one off as an anomaly because I don't rate that Wolves team very much still. Just before we carry on the questions, we've had through the week, Ben, a lot of compliments to your newfound beard because of Movember. Just to remind people, we have been doing that. You've kind of gone... How would you describe it, actually?
Porn star-esque.
Porn star Ben. There you go.
Uh-huh. PSB.
Is it too early to announce, your secret OnlyFans career that you're about to start?
That'll come, when it gets come Tuesday night. I think it is when it actually finishes. So keep following. Watch for those links.
Make sure to sign up, subscribe to our channel and Ben's OnlyFans channel, whenever it comes to fruition. Let's continue, though, with the analysis. Neil Shah has asked, hey, lads, good to have you back for a deadline stream. Yeah, we're excited to be back. Last week, we took 1 week off. I think we needed it because it's going to be manic over the next few weeks in terms of deadlines and everything. And for everybody in the community as well, make sure to watch when each game week is starting and the last one is stopping because it's very compact now. There's a lot of game weeks put together over the next month or so. I mean, that's the fun of the festive period, but it also makes our lives a little bit harder. So he has asked, is it worth handing TAA the armband this game week? If Salah is in the game, you always have to kind of back him, especially against Southampton, don't you, Ben?
I mean, Trent is good differential. Certainly. And you know me, I do like a differential. Although, yes, I own Salah and Trent. My differential this week is Benteke. Just putting it out there. Look, I don't think Trent's a bad option. Defensively, Southampton have improved this season across the board, looking pretty solid. Ralph has them well drilled. They don't tend to score a lot of goals. Armando Broja could come back into that lineup for the first start. I think what it might be in 3. He's obviously had that ankle problem. I'm still not convinced with Adam Armstrong. I think he will become a decent striker, but he needs that time to settle and adapt, to the rigors of top flight football. So look, I do like the Trent pick as a good differential, but as Jason said, for most people, Salah's going to be that you go to, and there's no real need to look anywhere else unless you're looking for something just a little bit different.
I mean, the thing is with the Salah pick is it's the FOMO thing, isn't it? The fear of missing out on the rest of the community, not even just his individual points. It's the fact that he'll have such high ownership. He's got the highest predicted points of any player this game week anyway. You know, some of the highest to score or assist points. It would be sensible if you're...
Oh, Spider. Spider. Jeez, I hate spiders. Jesus.
Oh, no. This is... I don't know if I should continue talking or if I should give you some motivational speech, Ben. Go on, you can do it. Send that spider away.
Go on. Jesus, spider. I'm absolutely terrified of spiders. Right.
You handled that so well, mate. Well done.
Oof. If I wasn't live on camera, I would have flipped out.
Would you have used certain profanities?
There might have been a few expletives, and I'm perspiring now.
Oh no.
Right. But happy, right? Back in the game.
Look, I'm proud of you there. You did really well in a tough situation. Bring it back to the Liverpool situation. I don't know if that's a good luck sign, though, if you find a spider. I don't know if people can tell us in the comments. But with Southampton, yeah, not great attacking data. They've had 14.1 non-penalty XG through the season. But the big indicator for me is they've underperformed that with just 11 goals. So their strike force isn't particularly good. They're not particularly amazing at creating a lot of high-scoring, high-quality opportunities because, you know, they sit really near the bottom for big chances created. Just 10 in the season so far, which is 4th from bottom. So, you know, Trent goes into this game week with the highest expected points of any defender, but it's Salah. You know, it's Salah against the Southampton defence. As good as they are, this is the best player in the world at the moment. I think we're just going to start using that all the time now because he is. He's sensational. He's in form. He's playing the best football in the best league in the world. You know, I don't think anybody comes close to him at the moment. And so it would just... It's the more sensible option, isn't it, really? Continuing the discussions... So Mr. Banerjee has asked, do you think Minamino starts against Southampton, especially he went on loan there? Also, what did Klopp mean? What did Klopp mean he has decisions? Is Firmino close to coming back? How much game? I mean, there's a lot of questions there. Let's go with the first one first. Minamino versus Southampton. Is that helped at all by the fact that Jota might have slight injury concerns?
As far as I'm aware, no issues with Jota whatsoever. I picked up that knee-on-knee injury in a collision with Aaron Ramsdale, last weekend. He has trained normally. He was rested as a precaution midweek, so I don't really see that as being any kind of influencing factor. And with regards to Minamino going out on Southampton loan last season, there's no room for sentiment in football. Minamino's okay. Is he good enough to regularly play in that Liverpool starting 11? Not for me. I certainly isn't in my predicted lineup for this week. Maybe minutes from the bench, potentially. But, you know, given the fact that we have Henderson, who's been off the bench twice, so he's approaching full fitness. Fabinho, who's probably a mainstay of that midfield now. And then Thiago Alcantara getting up to speed and got his goal midweek. Surely that's got to be your starting three in that midfield, and Minamino cannot really oust any of those.
And so, kind of continuing, I guess what Klopp meant that he has decisions, squad rotation, fixtures through the festive period. I'm guessing that's that one. Firmino close? Is Firmino close to coming back, Ben?
Not really. I said from the very beginning, if you followed or listened to any of the videos, I always thought there's around about a 4 to 6 week timeline, probably more towards the 6 week, given that he had already spent a month on the sidelines at the back end of September, I think it was. So that gives us a return to play potentially around mid-December. People became a little bit confused or almost read too much into comments that Jurgen Klopp made last week when answering those on Roberto Firmino. He said, he's maybe he's not going to be involved this weekend. The truth was he was never going to be involved, and he's not going to be involved this week either. So I still think it's around about a fortnight for that. With regards to decisions to make, one of the big ones that he was talking about was to Simcas at left back with Andy Robertson. And he dealt with those with a fairly straight bat. And he's very much fighting the corner of Andy Robertson, because obviously Simcas been getting a lot of praise for his performances when he came into that Liverpool team. But what he said about Robertson, he said, look, people forget how good Robbo is. Robbo is Robbo. Robbo is outstanding. Robbo is my left back. Look, he couldn't make it more clear and obvious than that. Simcas is pushing Robbo. Robbo is elevating his performance because of Simcas. Robbo is outstanding. So, he is very much the first choice left back. And Simcas will have to feed on scraps, unfortunately, in and around injury, or maybe on the rare occasion when Robertson actually needs to be rested.
Forever QPR has another question. Any weather news for the Liverpool game? Rumours having it postponed due to a storm.
Not that I'm aware of, and as we approach sort of kick-off, those weather conditions will ease, temperatures will improve, winds will die. The only issues that you may have with grounds in and around this country is more of a safety issue and travel, and maybe if there's been any damage caused by those high winds. But with regards to the weather itself, I'm not aware of any at this moment in time. And like I say, as we approach kickoff, those will actually, the day will brighten as it, as we head towards those 3 o'clocks.
I feel like I should have, superimposed the weather map there, dry spells. Ben, you've kind of given a bit of weather news there. And, this is why we like to do these streams as well, kind of disprove any rumours, because Hugh Meredith has another one that he has heard on Twitter that Dinnery could be out. Rafa didn't get asked, and about new injuries in his press conferences. Hugh has asked, have you heard anything, Ben?
That's not one that I've personally picked up. I mean, there was a lot going on in Rafa's press conference. The main talking points, as always, around DCL, Abdul Doucouré potentially coming back. There was one that was missed. That was Brazilian midfielder Alan. He was receiving treatment on Thursday for a muscle problem. Benitez expects him to return. So that was something that wasn't covered in the initial sort of public press conference. But Dinnery is not one that I had picked up on or heard, indeed, any kind of rumours whatsoever.
So continuing with the analysis, Ricardo Hamilton has said thoughts on Foden.
Had this conversation last week. We've done a Twitter space, and I must have got asked this question about 5 or 6 times. And trying to second guess Pep is it's an impossible task. But what I would say, looking at the facts, we know that up until today, Phil Foden was not training with the team. He is improving. He is progressing, but he was working individually. Now, you speak to some medical departments, unless they can put a full session with the team under the belt prior to the game, they will not be considered. So that's the first, that's the first sort of red flag with regards to potential start. Secondly, we have a game midweek. So, Pep could easily rotate, keep Phil Foden out and keep him fresh. Thirdly, I just think, why would he risk him unnecessarily? He threw him in last weekend. I thought that was a mistake coming back from that knock from England duty. He lasted barely an hour in and around that 58th, 59th minute. Picked up another knock, same place, and that kept him out of the Champions League as well. I know it turned out well for City, but on another day, it could have, PSG might have got a point or even 3 points. And, the absence of Phil Foden could have been felt massively, particularly without Kevin De Bruyne. So for me, looking at that game at West Ham, I think City have enough strength and depth in that squad. If he does return, maybe on the bench. What I would say, if Pep was to throw him in there and start him, which is always a possibility, then would I expect him to get 90 minutes? No. I think he would be managed carefully. But look, if you would ask me at this point in time, I would say bench at the very best, because he hasn't worked with the team, and the only thing that could change is, that session today, which we still don't know anything about.
Nuclear Atoms has just sent a message in, so we will get back to everybody else's message, but I think it's important to ask this. He's asked, on this situation, will Foden be at least ready for the Aston Villa game then? Do you kind of envisage that that's probably the more likely one?
Yeah, that would be it. It's a minor knock. It's nothing too serious. Like I say, he could be in and around the squad potentially. I just think maybe Sunday is pushing it. They won't have a full proper session, as it were, today. It will be, a lot on tactics, just putting this through a few sort of light drills, getting them ready for that West Ham match. So, will we see, will Phil Foden be able to come through that properly anyway? Maybe not. So for me, the sensible decision would be midweek. But you know what? When has Pep ever made sensible decisions that relate to our FPL decisions?
Subhadeep Banerjee has said Ben is more valuable to society than Alana Rhodes, for example. I don't know if that name rings a bell to you, Ben, but he said as well that you're bigger than porn stars. I mean, is this another thing that will be revealed on OnlyFans?
I mean, not the type of question you expect to get asked, in all honesty. Only time will tell.
I think people are going to be expecting a lot now with this. I've played a dangerous game here, haven't I, Ben? Yeah. Dale Vicaria has said, I think the Spider wants to give updates, but he's gone for the morning run or something. Mark Sequito has asked thoughts on Mane as captain over Salah. Very, very brave, that one. In terms of it, you just kind of look at the data over the last few game weeks. Yes, Mane has done well. He has 3.46 XGI and 2.58 XG. But we just have to look at the top of the XG in the XGI table. Who is there? Mo Salah. More shots in the box, more shots on target, high XG, high XGI, more total shots, more goals. As good as Mane is, I mean, it could be quite interesting, a double up of both of them, because, a lot of people are going with Son, or they're going with Harry Kane, but Liverpool are the most informed team at the moment. Maybe the better way would be, don't get Jota, get Mane, don't get Son, and then you can afford Mane as well. That could be a more interesting way to play, but I can't really justify any movement away from Salah at the moment. He's just so damn good, and that's all that you can say on that one. Continuing with it, Connell Hooley has asked, start Wilson or Antonio? I mean, this one's close to your heart, Ben. You have to start that one.
I don't think Newcastle will get a result at the Emirates today. History would say that it's going to be very, very difficult. I think it'll be a very entertaining match, and I think Newcastle would score. I'm a Callum Wilson owner as well, so I would like to see him on the score sheet, and I'm trying not to let those heart rule ahead. Yeah, and look, I would fancy Newcastle to score against Arsenal as opposed to West Ham against Man City.
And so just moving it to a little bit of an earlier question. Sorry, I missed it. Savile Ahmed, he said, when is KDB coming back? Any expected date?
Always difficult with COVID-related absence. There's so many influencing factors with regards to what can impact a potential return. So in short, no. He's currently still self-isolating. Now, you will need to submit a negative PCR test, or, people will argue you still test positive for a PCR for 6 to 12 weeks. That is very true. So what they look at is his CT score. So if he's got a CT score, which is an infection rate of over 40, then he will return to the group. We know that he missed, some players can be asymptomatic and still work from home and effectively just come in, build up on that base level of fitness. Some players are affected a little bit differently. To what extent, we don't know. With Kevin, we do, he missed the first few days because he wasn't really feeling great. So hopefully, fingers crossed, he'll be back on the training pitches from next week. Midweek will probably come too soon. But if we look maybe ahead to game week 15, there's a possibility, an outside chance that he could maybe make the bench.
Sandeep Kundu has asked -4 for Region or play Antonio. We're always a bit reticent to back any kind of move for a hit, especially with the situation at Tottenham. This week we have recorded, but we will be releasing it very soon, a very in-depth analysis of Tottenham, maybe kind of giving an answer to those questions. I back Tottenham's wing-backs to do well, maybe in the medium to longer term, but at the moment Conte seems to have a lot on his plate, and he even said this week that after 3 weeks at being at Tottenham, he realises how much of a challenge it is. So I would hold on to Antonio because, like Ben and I have both said, there's a chance that he can score against Manchester City. That's how good West Ham are. That's how good he is. And with the -4 for Region, you're expecting Region to get a clean sheet and a bit more on top of that to be able to just match the 2 points that Antonio will get for just playing the 90 minutes. So anything that you'd like to add to that, Ben, at all?
No, I'm with you. I mean, I'm not really buying into this Tottenham loving. People looked at the fixtures and thinking, well, Antonio Conte has arrived. This is the time that they're going to, really arrive this season. They're being crap. That's the long and short of it. They've got absolutely, for me, I've got no faith in really any of their assets. And I think Antonio's a decent shout for this week. Like I say, I don't think that City defence is infallible. And I wouldn't, I do like Region, but I certainly wouldn't be taking any hits for any Tottenham defenders or actually Tottenham assets for that matter.
The interesting one with Region as well is his place is slightly more under threat than Emerson Royale. So if you were going to go for one of the two, maybe go for Royale because there's no kind of competition at right back, whereas Region could be competing with Session, who Conte has kind of pointed to as one of the players that he would like to play more of in the future. Cole Wilders has another question about a hit. This one, -4 for Alonso or play Livramento. Really hard one, that one, because obviously we're expecting Liverpool to do well against Southampton. I mean, it could be a low pointer or maybe a no pointer for Livramento, depending on how much they go to town. But with Alonso, long term, good pick. But short term, this game week, maybe not worth that -4 because they're playing Manchester United. As much as I think Man United being bad, it's one of those games, it's a rival game. I think Chelsea will win probably quite comfortably, but they could nick a goal, couldn't they, Man United? And then you've taken a -4 for maybe a low pointer game. What do you think? Go on, Ben.
Well, you're teeing me up there, Jay.
Yeah.
I'm not taking any hits. Look, I'd roll the dice with Livramento. I think he deserves that chance taken on him, given how he's returned. And is it still 7 of the last 9 game weeks in and around that? It's not far off. And there's been some tough games in there. So when the Saints haven't managed to keep a clean sheet, he's assisted. He's done really well. So look, I own Livramento, and I think I'll be starting him. Take the chance. Be a little bit different.
Nuclear Atoms has asked about Gray. You've kind of already covered that one, Ben. He won't be ready for Sunday. Now, Anonymous sent a question in. I replied. He said he's got in late, quick overview of the main players. He wants to know about Foden and Jota, who we've covered already, really. But just summarise in maybe a few words, Ben, both of those situations.
Foden has one session today. That will determine his availability for Sunday. Up until this point, along with Jack Grealish, they've been training away from the main group. In terms of Diogo Jota, picked up that knee problem in a collision with Aaron Ramsdale last weekend. He has trained. He was rested as a precaution midweek. He's a player that I would fully expect to start for Liverpool.
So continuing with this, Steve Trim has asked, guys, should I start Wilson or Hwang Hee-chan, the Bull, as you like to call him, Ben?
I've got rid of the Bull this week and I've kept Wilson. So that probably gives you a very good indication of what my thoughts are for game week 13.
And I guess this is the last question from Nuclear Atoms. Again, please do subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment below if you've enjoyed this, because it's always a pleasure to chat to everybody. We've got a load of good content as well. We've got some more evergreen stuff that has come out this week in terms of some analysis on this stuff. But Nuclear Atoms has asked, I've already taken a -8 hit. Should I take another hit to get rid of Gray for Jota, since my bench will be 2 Southampton players? I mean, a -8 hit already. I wouldn't take anything more. Yes, the bench will be 2 Southampton players, but you got to bench somebody. And Jota is very exciting this game. I think he's a really good long-term own, but maybe save the -hit and get him next week. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, look, I'm going absolutely nowhere near that, by the way. Nah, look, what we know is a positive news from the treatment room with regards to Gray. So even if he does miss out this weekend, and even midweek, he should be back, possibly for game week 15. So it's certainly not a long-term problem. The concerns that you have at this time of year, with illness and injury and suspension, there are absolutely no guarantees that you're going to be able to get a starting 11 out every single week. And can you imagine taking a 12-point hit and then finding out at the last minute that there's been an issue overnight, and some of those players that you're bringing in aren't even starting? So I think you need to minimize the risks and the chances that you're taking at this particular period of games. I think there's 10 between this game week and those fixtures on New Year's Day. So they'll be coming thick and fast, and you're going to have a lot of problems created anyway. Try not to add to those by, like I say, taking a lot of hits, which are maybe unnecessary.
I'll let people into a bit of behind-the-scenes news, but I always leave my transfers till during or after this live stream, just because I know that there could be any breaking news. I chat to Ben, we clear up any problems, like just like everybody that's listening in. This information here is hot off the presses, as good as it will ever be, and then I never really have a problem with players being injured unless they get injured in a warm-up, which does happen as well, unfortunately, and that's why you need good benches too. But I'm going to thank everybody for tuning in. Pleasure as always to chatting to you all. I wish you all the best of luck with your teams. Do make sure to hit that subscribe button. Do leave a like. Do leave us comments as well, just saying if you enjoyed it. And make sure to watch out how our Movembers go, because I'm growing a goatee, but I will be removing this bit because Ben said it doesn't count, and I'll be a good boy and follow what Big Ben says. Anyway, cheerio for now.